And continue with our media availabilities this morning at Martinsville Speedway. We are now joined by Joey Logano, driver of the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford. Joey, you're on quite a streak lately. I don't know if you know this or not, but you can actually become the first driver since Jimmy Johnson to win 4 races in a row. He did so in 2007 and won the championship. So you got that going for you.
Okay.
So talk a little bit about that opportunity, but more importantly, the opportunity to win this weekend and advance to the championship race at Homestead.
Yeah, our ultimate goal is to win the championship. And if we can win 4 in a row, great. We've been on, like you said, an amazing roll here lately, which has been pretty spectacular. This racetrack has been another good racetrack for us. We haven't won here yet. In the past, but it's been a good track for us here. The last few times we've been here, we've qualified well, ran up front here in the spring. Just didn't quite have the car quite good enough to win. But this race, if you can win this one, it sets you up so good for Homestead. There's nothing else you think about after you win this race besides Homestead. The other 2 races kind of become not very important at all. You don't really get much out of them. As you know, at worst, you're going to finish 4th in points, and you have a great shot at winning it because you can focus in 2 weeks ahead of everybody. So I think the advantage of winning this weekend really helps whoever that is. So we'll take it 1 week at a time, though. It's not, we're not throwing all caution to the wind this weekend. We want to be smart about it. We want to get the best finish we possibly can, do what we typically do every race. We're not going to change the way we race. We're going to keep doing the same thing we've been doing because that's what works. We found the right recipe, but we got to be pretty smart about it.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. Please state your name and affiliation. We'll start on the far right and then come over to the left. Yeah.
Kenny Bruce, NASCAR.com. So is that a different outlook going into this round as opposed to the last one? Because you kept talking in the last round about, well, we still want to go out and win races. We're still going to go try to win races, even though we were guaranteed after the first win. And now it sounds like if you win Sunday, you don't care what the crap happens in the next 2.
I think it is a different mentality, because, you wanted to win, you wanted to win the whole round because those points may mean something at the end of the year. If we don't make it through the next round to Homestead, it reverts back to points, so you're still racing for something, and obviously that momentum is very big. It's very valuable. You can't just buy momentum out there, so it's something important to have, that confidence we have in our team right now. But, if you are able to win this, it's really just all focus on one race coming up. It's really what happens if you're able to do it here. But like I said, we're going to do what we typically do. We're going to show up here to win the race. And if we can't do that, we get the best finish we possibly can. And then we'll move on.
All right, we'll go to Jared and then up to Bob.
Yeah, Jared Turner, FoxSports.com. Joey, right here, Joey.
I don't see you. Oh, there you are.
Hey, buddy. A couple quick things. At what point do you start feeling like, you've sort of got like a wind at your back, almost like you can't be stopped? At what point does confidence sort of get that high? And then secondly, this is a track, as you know, that's known for retaliation. There's been a couple of guys, Matt Kenseth in particular, who hasn't been all that happy with you recently. Any concern that Sunday might be a time for someone to try to retaliate with you, thinking about Matt in particular?
No, to answer your first part of the question about the confidence and the momentum, that's when you feel like you can get to the racetrack and not necessarily say you can't do anything wrong, but it's just everyone's more confident in the decisions they make, which is a good thing. Todd's confident in the changes he makes. The mechanics do a great job on, and my team does a great job on, just being confident in the changes they make on the race car and making sure it's the right way, and they know how to do it. And it's just there's just a different attitude when you start to run well on the racetrack like we've been here lately. So, that's a good thing that we got going for us. And like I've been saying for the other answer, we're focusing on to win the race. And that's what we can control. We can't control anybody else's thinking or what's in their mind. We got to think about how we advance and how we win this weekend in particular. And that's what we've been focused on all week. We're not going to change that.
All right, we'll go to Bob and then Jonathan.
Bob Pockers, ESPN. I wanted to follow up on something we were talking about on Tuesday when you were saying that you kind of enjoyed some of the creative jabs at you from people who didn't necessarily see eye to eye with you. I'm curious. Jimmy Johnson has at times engaged people that he calls the haters on Twitter and says things and stuff. I'm curious. Have you thought about doing that, or do you not want to get into that?
It's not. I think it's funny when Jimmy does it. Actually, I think it's pretty funny. I look at it and says, I don't really see where it's worth my time to have to, stand up for myself for one of those haters. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I got more things to do with my life, more important things to do than do that. And yes, it's fun sometimes when you write back and you kind of can some of them are just, they're so lost. They're just so far out there, and it's like you have no idea. And I just think, it's not worth it. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
All right, we'll go to Jonathan.
Jonathan Merriman, NASCAR.com. Joey, there's safer barriers all around here now, so that means you take a small track and make it even smaller. There's less room out there. Is that going to affect the racing line and how you guys set the car up coming off the corner, or how much do you think it'll affect race weekend?
It's hard to answer that question without being out there yet, but I do believe it will change some things. You do take 3 feet away from a racetrack. It's, we use every inch there is, right? We get it right up against the wall, so it does make it a little tighter. I don't know if it's going to change the racing a whole bunch. It might. You would think the line, obviously you got to cut the corner off a little bit more on the exit. So I don't think it's going to change some people's lines, and I think other people, it will change their lines. This is a racetrack that drivers run it 2 or 3 different ways, and I think some people it may affect more than others.
All right, we'll go to the middle and then to Dustin Long.
Zach Glover, WDBJ out of Roanoke. Joey, coming off of Talladega, obviously this is a completely different track. What is the mentality that you flip a switch from going to a super speedway to a short track, and what are you hoping to get out of this?
Well, we're hoping to win. that's what we're trying to get out of this weekend. And it's different. It is a completely different mentality than what we did last week, right? And that's the beauty of NASCAR. We get to do something different every single week. We go from, something, completely different than this week. We went from the largest track to the smallest track, 1 week after another. How cool is that? That's pretty neat that we can go to 2 different extremes in 1 week. And as a driver, you have to be, ready for some change, ready to do things differently, than you did the week before or the previous weeks. And as a race team, you got to be, thinking differently. So I think that's something that's, I think it adds a lot to our sport when you can go to completely different racetracks. It's not like we run mile and a half after mile and a half after mile and a half. Usually there's something splitting those things up that keeps you keep you on your toes. So if you keep running the same track over and over again, or same type of track, you can really focus in and build off of it. But when you got to think about a racetrack that's completely different, a lot of times it kind of mixes it up for you. So it makes it a little bit more challenging for the race teams.
All right, we'll go to the far right and then up to Dustin Long. Or Dustin and then behind Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. I had a couple questions. In the spring, you got the pole. You'd been close previously here. How significant did you experience the difference of having the number 1 pit stall as opposed to the number 2 or number 3 in years past? And I know you tested it at Atlanta this weekend. Why did you test, and was that 2015 or 2016 things you were working on?
To answer your first part about pit stall 1, super important. I was rewatching the race last night, and we were able to start first here in the spring, like you said, and just to see the advantage you get on pit road on exit there for multiple reasons. There's a lot of reasons why that pit stall is good this week, but so qualifying here is very important. Obviously we think of starting position here, and how hard you got to run your car early in the run if you're not towards the front to maintain on the lead lap. And then you burn your tires off and you fall off pretty hard. So starting towards the front really helps your whole race. And then obviously when you have a good pit stall, if something does happen during the race and you lose your track position, you rely on the pit crew a lot of times to get a few every time you come down pit road, and if you can help them out with a great pit stall, here probably bigger than most racetracks that we go to.
There's a number one pit stall everywhere, so what's
Right.
special?
Well, the camera line's right in front of it, so you don't have to go very far. So, the overall time on pit road is pretty quick. The safety of being way down there on the other end helps. And really, to be honest with you, a lot of guys count cars here, down pit road and want to make sure they're on the right lane to restart. And if you can see that, as the leader on the first guy, you can I guess you can see it a little bit better and understand it. So I think there's just a lot of different advantages to the pit stall one, and probably larger here than most places.
And the Atlanta test, was that Y, and was that 15 or 16?
We ran 15 package down there just to, we still got Texas coming up. We got Homestead's also another fast mile and a half. And we want to win a championship this year. We can worry about next year. Right now, our 100% of effort is into this year.
All right, we'll finish up on the right.
Okay. Barry Richmond, Piedmont Broadcasting Corporation. Had a chance to spend time with another driver, and we were talking about pit road speeds, and his comment was that other than just watching the attack, there are other distractions that a driver has to be aware of. So to sort of contrast and compare Martinsville to Talladega, can you talk a little bit about those other distractions other than adhering to the attack speed?
You got a lot going on pit road, and you think, here I think it was at 35, right? So you don't think you're going very fast, but there's a lot of things happening very quick, and it actually feels like you're going pretty fast because there's so much going on. You got to think about the car in front of you, where he is pitting, and make sure that you're not, going to, collide down pit road, and where he pits to where you pit, and make sure you position yourself in the right spot with him in front of you. I think you got to realize on pit road where you can push it and where you can't. There's certain areas and certain timing lines that you can push more than others, and depending on where you pit. So understanding that, and obviously just maxing pit road speed out, looking at the tack, and then you got to find your pit stall on top of all this, and there's so many pit signs and so many pit stalls that you got to really know what your pit stall looks like and your pit sign looks like, and know where you're at. Is something that it's easy to drive by. A lot of times it's easy to drive right by your stall, and obviously the faster pit road is, the quicker all this happens. But a lot of times it's a tight pit road as well. You think about when you're pulling out and there's other cars pulling out in front of you, and you're looking at your tag, and next thing you know, someone's in front of you. So you just got to be able to multitask a lot down pit road.
All right, thanks for joining us, Joey, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.